CNN correspondent Clarissa Ward bemoaned the lack of trust in mainstream media. Let's watch.
Deep antipathy towards mainstream media at the moment, and it's stronger than I have ever felt it to be before. And a lot of people view us as part of the problem, and that makes it very difficult when you're going to someone in good faith to have a conversation and you're finding that there's all this hostility being directed towards you. That then makes you defensive. I mean, on Twitter now, I can't even tell you the barrage of abuse I get every time I appear on television. So that's part of the problem. The second part of the problem is, especially for someone like me, I've devoted the last 14 years of my life, Brian, to traveling the world, to trying to understand geopolitical issues, to trying to understand Islam and terrorism. And sometimes I find myself trying to engage with narratives that simply don't seem to be based in fact, as far as I'm concerned. They seem to be based in a much more guttural, emotional response to larger forces in the world. So it's difficult to come back and say, hold on a second, let's take a more nuanced approach, when a lot of people just don't really want to hear that right now.
Right, there's almost nothing more powerful than fear. I mean, it sounds like the conversation in the U.S. about a post-truth era is the same conversation you're hearing elsewhere in the world.
Brian Stelter at the end talking about, post-truth era, fake news. They're on CNN. CNN covered a missing plane for about a week and a fucking half. That's all they spoke about. They had Don Lemon playing with toy planes on air. One of the hosts speculated, maybe it went to a black hole. Maybe the plane went to a black hole. We don't know. I mean, it's scientifically possible, right? You're CNN. You don't get to talk about a post-truth era. You don't get to talk about that. Okay, understand. The hostility against mainstream media from the people, it's not personal. I feel like Clarissa Ward is taking it personal. Clarissa, I follow news better than, closer than anybody. I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't know who you are, which means other news junkies probably don't know who you are. The percentage of people who know who you are in the country is about 0.01%. So don't take it personal. This ain't about you. Clarissa explains it all. This is about a feeling towards this entity, mainstream media, which has so grotesquely failed us that people are lashing out, and they're right to lash out. So, she makes it seem like, I don't know why they're mad. We're trying to do the best we can. But people in mainstream media, by and large, are hired because they suck. Now, those are strong words, but I mean it. They're hired because they're not going to rock the boat. They're going to paint a picture of the world that's roughly the kind of picture that the establishment wants them to paint. Why do you think Wolf Blitzer gets more airtime on CNN than anybody else? He's a robot who's never said an interesting fucking thing in his entire life, but he reads the prompter. He's like Ron Burgundy. You put anything in the prompter, he'll read it. Wolf Blitzer is such a dim bulb, and he's so good at parroting a line of the establishment that, remember when he said on air, when there was a congressman who said, look, we're bringing up this bill to stop building whatever it was, tanks or something for the military-industrial complex. Wolf Blitzer's response was, and I think it was bombs actually, in regards to the Yemen-Saudi Arabia conflict. Wolf Blitzer was like, oh yeah, but a lot of people say that this is going to cost jobs if we stop building bombs and giving them to Saudi Arabia. It's going to cost jobs. Really? That's your argument. You have nothing to say about the fact that Saudi Arabia is slaughtering civilians. By some counts, over 50% of the people they're killing in Yemen are civilians. Women, children, they're bombing mosques, they're bombing open-air markets, they're bombing schools for the blind. I mean, they're using cluster bombs that we built for them, which are illegal under international law. You don't have anything to say about that? You don't have anything to say about the fact that this is radicalizing the population further, and now they want to attack the U.S. because they see the bombs say "Made in USA" on them? You don't want to talk about that. So, what are you going to do? Our allies massacre innocent civilians, but if we stop building the bombs, it jobs. It costs jobs. What are you jobs? It's important, right? Jobs. Look at this moron. He's incapable of deep thought. So I don't know, what's jobs, something. The establishment wants me to say jobs might be cost if we stop building bombs that kill innocent people. So jobs. Jobs. But see, that's why we say you suck, is that they pick people who aren't going to rock the boat, and they pick people who, at best, do false equivalence, false neutrality all day long. Democrats say this, Republicans say that. I'm not going to give you the facts. Even if one is saying, hey, intelligent design is the way to go in class, the other one says evolution. All right, you decide. Moving on to the next segment. Well, that's not news. That's not objectivity. That's not news. You're not giving facts and data and information. You're doing, smooth talking points given to you by people in power, and you don't even realize you're doing it. And that's the saddest part, is that, again, they hire the people who are more likely to give that view of the world. So they think they're doing a great job. Anderson Cooper thinks he's fucking nailing it. Don Lemon thinks he's nailing it. But he's hired because he's never going to go out there and absolutely positively keep it real and give all the facts. So yeah, the people are angry at mainstream media because you don't know what you're doing. If it's Fox News, all you get is garbage Republican talking points, and the overwhelming majority of shit said on Fox News is just not true. They just say things that are not accurate. They're a giant propaganda arm of the Republican Party. Everybody knows that. MSNBC, giant propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. That's why you see them going with the Russia fear-mongering now. That's now the narrative in the Democratic Party. Russia's so bad, blame them for Hillary's election loss, blame the FBI, blame Jill Stein, blame Gary Johnson, blame sexist Bernie bros. Run with stories like that. MSNBC, the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. They're a Democratic bias network. Not a liberal network, not a progressive network. That would be different. They are a Democratic Party bias network. CNN, right down the middle, false neutrality all day long. No objectivity, false neutrality all day long. And you get people like this. Oh, Brian Stelter, we're living in a post-truth era. Yeah, Brian, and CNN is largely to blame for that. And, these are the same fucking networks that now they're bitching about fake news. Where the fuck were you during the Iraq War? You're doing fake news right now with Syria. Jake Tapper did this segment the other day. Genocide! It's a genocide! Blame Assad and blame Russia. The majority, according to a study, the majority of the rebels are jihadists. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra. Funded by Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Vladimir Putin and Assad have blood on their hands, and they're the problem. They're doing genocide. What? No, that's fake news. You're doing fake news. You did it on Iraq, you're doing it on Syria, you do it on almost every issue you touch. And you do it because you fall for fucking CIA, Pentagon, White House propaganda because you're not that bright, because you're hired to not be that bright and give the establishment talking points, and you don't even fucking realize it. So yeah, people are mad at you because they should be mad at you because you do a terrible job.